go there and find the release notes. So we're recording. It's a date of note. It's February 2nd, or it's 2/22/2022, which is kind of interesting. So anyways, Alma release notes for March. The first thing worth mentioning is actually quite kind of exciting, and it's a response to it's Alma's response. They heard Amy's question from a couple of weeks ago about that overlap analysis discussion we had. There's actually in March a new set of features in the overlap analysis tool that will actually address directly the limitation Amy finds with the tool, which is the ability to compare something against your entire institutional zone. So that's and there are a couple other things in there. I just started going over the release notes this morning. So there's actually, if you go in and watch this little 4-minute video, you'll get a good overview of the tool, and they actually put a little nicer UI on it as well, so it's a little easier to understand what's going on. But the ability to and you can do kind of you can do the kind of thing that Amy was actually looking for. Actually, there might be, you can select a collection in your institutional zone and basically ask the question, if I unsubscribe from this, what will I lose? And what overlap is there between this collection and the institutional zone? What I'm not sure about in thinking about it is whether you can select multiple collections in your institutional zone and compare it against what you already have. And actually probably watching the video would answer that question. But anyways, that's a big improvement on what was happening with that tool before. And maybe once the March release rolls in, we can maybe do a show and tell on that, just to do a live analysis using the new feature set. Another one has to do with Wiley collections. And I don't know if any of you have Wiley collections. But if you do, Ex Libris is now offering the automated kind of connection between Alma and Wiley, as it does for a couple of other vendors out there. So Amy, it looks like Amy's saying she has Wiley Anthrosource, and then Nicole says she thinks they have some too. So if you do, you can connect, starting in March, you'll be able to connect via an integration profile, your Alma instance with your Wiley holding, so that your Wiley activations in the CZ will be automatic, and you wouldn't have to manually adjust them as changes occur on the Wiley side. And that's something that is available for a couple other vendors as well. I know some of you, a lot of you signed up to do it with ProQuest, which was the first vendor that Alma supported for that. And there are a couple others in there as well. So that's that one. There were a couple other things related to cataloging. Let's see. This is a nice feature to have added, which is the ability to allow a due date after a patron expiration date. And this will help you address those corner cases, or those issues where you have a patron that for whatever reason didn't get their expiration date updated by the patron load. This will allow you to quickly at the cert desk extend a due date past the patron's expiration date. And that I think will continue to come in handy because we're always probably going to have those cases where, for whatever reason, a student especially is not included in the upcoming upcoming quarters worth of students in the user load. But anyways, you'll be able to do that. And let's see. And it will be role based, so you'll need a particular role or privilege to do that, and so that will be something to keep in mind. And this is another one we can talk about a little more once the March feature set rolls out. So that's another nice one. Let's see, there was yeah, I don't know if this is I didn't read this one too closely, but you'll be able to do searches within Alma on with library as the basic scope. I'm not sure how useful that one is, but oh, this one is worth pointing out, I think. I assume this has been kind of an irritant for a while. If you're using templates to create new records, when you select a template starting in the March release, the default left click operation is going to be create new record from template rather than edit template. And that will help prevent the accidental editing of templates when you might be just wanting to create a new record from the template, because I assume you're going to be creating a new record from a template much more often than you're going to be editing that template. So that's for those of you who rely a lot on templates for creating records, that should come in handy or be a nice addition or change. Yeah, there's going to be a new DARA recommendation coming out that will pop up when you have standalone portfolios that appear to be part of the same collection based on the base URL, and the DARA system, which is the automatic recommendation feature that Alma has, will pop up and recommend that you've got a number of standalone portfolios that appear to be related and could be grouped together into an electronic collection for easier management. And I know generally the practice with you guys has been to create a local collection when you're adding standalone portfolios, but this will catch this recommendation will catch those that you might have missed. And the next one is another kind of interesting one that might be useful for some use cases. Creating CDI scopes that or excuse me, not CDI scopes, but hiding resource sharing link from particular resource types. So those of you that present resource sharing links in Primo, this will allow the ability to suppress those resource sharing links in cases where you don't provide ILL for specific resource types. And that, that's probably going to be a best effort kind of thing. It's, as has been the case since we moved to Alma and Primo. The identification of particular resource types can have inaccuracies just because of the way things are tagged and the way records are reused. So it's not always the case that trying to identify things by resource type is 100% accurate. So that might be one caveat to using that kind of feature. Let's see, question in chat. Yeah, that's nothing. That's nothing that will affect you, Amy, or anyone else. That basically everybody is already using the private certificate from Ex Libris for doing authentication. So the expiration date is like 5 years in the future. So I'll pause there and see if anybody has any questions or discussion about any of that stuff. Any thoughts about any of those new features? All right, if not, we can take a look at the Primo release notes. The first one relates to kind of something that's come up in the last couple of weeks, and it's not the context of the discussion that came up in our group was the use of native Alma and Primo VE features to present a database A to Z list in Primo VE. So that's so this feature kind of ties in. This is an update to the feature set in Alma and Primo that provides database search. And this is not, and I don't know if anybody's explored that possibility since the discussion came up in our group. Database search is not something I'm very familiar with, so I can't speak very cogently on this one. And what this additional feature does. I believe the way, and we can try logging, let's see. Has anybody tried using the database search feature or done anything with it?
Pierce College hasn't used it yet, but on Friday we were having our regular faculty meeting. We were talking about how when we looked at our Primo searches, like our top 20, top 50 Primo searches, they often have like JSTOR and voice and those things like that in Primo. So it is something that I think we're going to try to look into this quarter, somehow making the databases as part of more aligned with the Primo search.
I don't remember where in the menu structure. sorry, I'm just taking a little detour here to, if you want to look at this page, I'll paste the link. This is the, where is the menu option here? Discovery, other customer settings. That's not what I wanted. Oh, do you have to actually? Looks like you have to edit the actual mark record for the database to add a category to it. So anyway, yeah, the basic idea of the A to Z list is that, or the database search list is you add categories to the databases, and there is a way, and I'll paste a link in the meeting notes. I was actually looking at this last week. I was looking for good examples of customers that had used this feature set to create A to Z links within Primo. And there actually are some. I did find a couple. So this was something I was thinking about last week before. And this feature is just adding the ability to search or provide database results when you search on the category. So one thing to note about database records in Alma is that the database record, or the records that go with activated CZ collections, may be suppressed. They're generally suppressed by default unless you unsuppress them. So the actual the title record for a database for the ZZ collection is generally more for housekeeping for the collection itself than presentation in Primo. Though if you do, when you activate a collection, if you do select to unsuppress it, then that record, you would have a record like for EBSCO or something. And as Kirsty, I think, pointed out last week, the way that you would, just in this, this is just a little background now on database records. So if we looked at, let's see, edit the, how do I edit the,
so descriptive record is the bibliographic record that's linked to the electronic collection record?
Yeah, thanks, Kirsty. Yeah, so that's why, so this record, we have to select edit so we can see if, and here's where you could as you can see, this record is suppressed for discovery. So generally when you activate a CZ collection, the title record itself will be suppressed, but you can, at the time of activation or later by editing the record, you could unsuppress it. And I point that out only, let me release this record. As that is a potential source, unsuppressing those would be a potential source for records for the database search. Now, I don't know for certain if CZ title records would be considered databases in this search or not. As Nicole points out, that search is probably triggering on an LDR field, and then you may have other cases where you've added a database record to Alma for something that you subscribe to that's, I don't know, like an online atlas or kind of thing in the public library examples. But anyways, that's what this, so there's a new feature in March Primo that kind of adds a searchability to that database search feature set, which I think is related to the conversation we started having last week about using Primo for an A to Z list that's categorized by subjects, and that can be done by editing those database records to add categories to them. It's kind of another thought I had on this, and this is an aside to the discussion about database presentation in general. Most of you use some variation of A to Z, database A to Z lists in libguides. And I had the thought that I don't know how often you guys share libguides pages to the community zone or grab libguides pages from the community zone. But when I was editing the consortium webpage, which is in libguides last week, I crossed my mind that, I wonder if there's database A to Z list pages out there already that somebody could grab and use as a basis for, creating or generating an A to Z list. And there were a couple examples out there. I don't know where I'm going with that other than I was thinking about that following the A to Z list conversation we had last week. I think Primo as a platform for an A to Z list might be more attractive to in places where you haven't put a lot of time already into an A to Z list in libguides or something, because a lot of you have done that, let's just randomly look at Olympics. That's A to Z journals. Let's see, do you have a link to your?
No, that's not one of our shortcuts in Primo.
Yeah, a lot of you have that, I bet maybe Pierce does. No.
I know we've got database A to Z list links.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah, at all three of the Seattle colleges. Yeah, so within inside Primo databases, A to Z links out to the libguides.
And most of you do something like this, and this is I would guess that a lot of work has gone into this just based on having this available. I think the way you construct these in libguides is I don't know, there are different ways to do it. One way is to create like widgets for each database that can then be reused, and that might be what a lot of you do. Others may be more of a monolithic page where you're just putting all the data in, but and you don't work on this, Kirsty. I'm assuming that the LibGuides people do this.
Yeah, I don't.
But just the thought I had last week was that maybe, can this A to Z databases construct be shared in the LibGuides community zone that then somebody else can leverage as a starting place for A to Z list, as an alternative to the Primo VE option. Doing it in Primo VE would, it looks like there would be a bit of manual editing of the records that would need to be done to create that kind of lexicon like Seattle has done here with these subject headings. These could be, all of these databases could be exposed. All of the title records for these databases could be exposed in Primo. You could add these subjects to those records for those records in Alma, and then basically have this same kind of thing in Primo. Of course, if it's already done and you can just link to it, and it also, and it depends on the environment as well, where in, LibGuides is maybe not generally maintained by Alma catalogers, so people who are maintaining the A to Z list wouldn't be as conversant in dealing with Alma records, but they work regularly in LibGuides, so that might be a rationale for keeping it in LibGuides. So anyways, that's but to finish that thought, there may be some, lower barrier to entry way of thinking about the database search in Primo than constructing a fully fledged A to Z list. Just being able to search the databases by database name, for example. When people are in Primo, they might think, to search for, whatever, ABI, Inform, or whatever database they want to use. And that's not as labor intensive as thinking about adding categories to everything and presenting maybe a static A to Z list page. So that's something to think about. And also the fact that the database, most of your database records related to CZs are probably suppressed right now. So you may not find, you may not be able to search those until they were unsuppressed. So anyways, that's moving on. Another thing in Primo VE that will be a nice improvement, I think, is the collapsing the search criteria for advanced searches. It's the case when you do an advanced search in Primo right now that you kind of get the full search criteria at the top of the search results page. So you kind of, which takes up a lot of the real estate space, and you kind of have to scroll down to see your results. But they're adding a feature where you can set the default to be, have the advanced search criteria collapse. So when you look at your search results, it's not taking, when you get to the search results, it's not taking up so much screen room. So that's something nice. This seems of interest. I'll let you guys judge. I don't have I'm sure I have the background to know how useful this would be on the user side, but the related titles showing the relation type. So if you are, if you find a record with related titles based on value, based on data in the 760 to 780 fields and 800 fields, the type of relation will be displayed in the details as well as the relation itself. So that, especially to librarians helping patrons, that might be of more use to librarians than end users, but there it is. Okay, so this is the other. I was kind of thinking about this feature when we were looking at the Alma release notes, but starting in March, there's going to be the ability to create a search scope. It's sort of a limited, a more limited CDI search scope that will contain specific resource types like videos. And again, this is only as good as the underlying data. So, and some of those, particularly in CDI records, the resource type is not always accurate, but there will be ability to create one-off CDI search scopes for certain things, and maybe for videos that might be of particular interest or worth exploring or worth considering doing. This one is related to creating citations, and it has to do with including it's sort of analogous to showing the relation type. This feature will show the role of a contributor in a citation. So I don't know how much this will matter and in what citation types it might apply, but there it is. It will where there is a role type included in the metadata, that role type will be included in the citation. And then there's some mapping info on how that works. Oh, and okay, yeah, and maybe this is, I don't know if this is why we start talking about the database searches stuff. This is back in, now we're looking at February. I just happen to notice this is already out there, but database searches previously only matched by title, but now they expand into subject and author as well. So anyway, so there's a lot of stuff coming in March in both Alma and Primo that are going to be of interest. And, particularly, I think the biggest is that overlap analysis that I'm sure we'll all be eager to try out once it hits the environments. So I'll pause again, see if there's anything beyond what's going on in chat that anybody would like to comment on or ask about or discuss in any of those release note things. And while you're thinking about that, I'm just curious, Ryer, did you guys get back up and running again? Oh, maybe
No.
not. I mean, you did, it looks like you did in a lot. I mean, you got LibGuides back online and right, from what I saw in library. Journal.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of workarounds. It's kind of messy.
Is Easy Proxy still down?
Yeah, I wish we had hosted that with a commercial exterior vendor.
Are there any I don't know how much you guys are hearing about what's taking place. Like, have they already set up a temporary hosted environment for other things that, like, is there someplace else that, I'm just wondering, is there someplace else they could install Easy Proxy?
Yeah, that would be really nice.
The problem is they're not going to want to restore anything because they don't know what's infected, right? So that's the problem with, they'll have backup, they have backups, but you don't know when the infection occurred. So starting to restore anything from backup, possibly, infected backup. So do you have copies of the config and user files?
Well, I had backups and they were also on another drive that is affected by
Oh
this.
yeah, they run a network drive, yeah. Because that would make it easy to recreate Easy Proxy somewhere else if you had the config files.
Yes, yeah, I'm kicking myself that I did not make more copies in more places.
But yeah, it's hard because you wouldn't,
Left it.
yeah. I guess it's, just to generalize that discussion, that probably applies to a lot of things that we do now, is think about what if your institution, if that happens to your institution, or there are other kinds of disasters at your institution, what do you need to get the library up and running? And it makes sense that you wouldn't make, I guess, having a local copy of things in addition to things generally you want to have things on drive space that's backed up. So that would mean a network drive. But if the whole entire backup becomes suspect, then you need it somewhere else. But of course, if it was on your local computer, you don't know if that's infected either.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Especially if it was backed up to my work computer. That
Yeah,
thing,
exactly.
it's toast for a while. Yeah, what we did, we basically have LibGuides up as a temporary library homepage. And the only change we had to make is we used to use our own custom domain. So now it's centralia.libguides.com. And then for database access, I just focused on getting the big vendors, our biggest packages kind of up, and I worked one-on-one with them to determine some sort of thing. Basically, in most cases, we just did like something where you can just log in with some credentials. It's not elegant, but hopefully it'll work for a week or two.
Yeah, no, it's like, and just looking at your A to Z list, just back to our previous conversation. I guess this must be kind of an out of the box A to Z list thing that LibGuides provides. This is very similar to.
Yeah, this is
what North Sea,
but it's a separate tool within it. That these databases are created as particular assets.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's pretty nice for that, because on the back end, there's lots of extra information that you can record there.
Yeah,
In a very easy, it's an easy to use
yeah,
interface.
yeah. Just curious, like, do they have like pre-catalog versions of the databases that you can add to your A to Z list?
You know,
Or
not that I know of.
is it, or are you guys all like when you want to add ABI inform, you add this and
Yeah, for the description, we typically just look at the
yeah, so yeah, I was just
At
curious
the
if they have like a
back
CZ,
driver.
sort of a community zone of pre-created like assets for each database that you just. Yeah, because I mean, and somehow they're categorizing, this is popular. I don't know if you guys are doing that or if that's something that happens automatically on the LibGuide side.
Yeah, that's a little checkbox that we can check.
Oh, I get you. Oh, I get you.
Same with like new or trial. Something that confuses users a lot is that there's a search box up in the upper right, search for databases.
Uh-huh.
We often get users who try to search for their topics there, which makes sense.
You can actually
that-
take that out. You can edit the code to remove that box. We experimented with that, but the librarians use that box, so we put it back.
And I guess that's actually something that Ex Libris has addressed in its database search, is that it's adding, I guess that's probably been an issue in the database search in Primo. So they're allowing you to search for doing a more general keyword search here rather than just for the title.
Right.
So just,
And with the whole like ransomware attack thing, there's a whole other challenge of just how much work do we put into workarounds?
yeah.
Certainly our students need to keep accessing things, but how much is good enough? So for example, OneSearch is pretty much useless at the moment, even though it's useless to get a student to subscription materials. I could go in and add all kinds of warning labels and stuff
Yeah.
like that, but honestly, it doesn't seem worth it.
Well, how about like what's happening with circulation? Did you throw in a new PC at the circ desk or anything?
I'm not entirely sure. Our library building has been closed.
Oh, okay. Oh, I got you. Oh,
It is open today, and I haven't heard from Jesus exactly how she's managing that. They're probably using a laptop.
yeah. I was going to say the nice thing about Alma is it's browser based, so you can just grab your own iPad and or it wouldn't be hard to jury rig a temporary circulation solution for.
Yeah, no, it's been really helpful. All the pieces that are browser based.
Yeah.
It's interesting how a small piece like Easy Proxy is really it's a really significant bridge that has just really damaged our ability to connect people to resources.
Yeah, especially in the post-COVID remote preferred environment.
Ryer, do you think that your school or library will now come up with the funding to do the hosted Easy Proxy? I mean, that's why we don't do it, because it's so much more expensive.
Yeah, I think the cost of that will still be a barrier. Honestly, I just wish I had a way that I could run that on, a non-campus server. The OCLC version would be ideal if money were no object, but if I had some backup on a commercial server, this would be I think it would be significantly easier. But maybe I should use this opportunity to get them to pony up the money for that.
I'm just scrolling back through chat to see if we missed anything. Yeah, with, you know, a lot of schools are using, you know, do use hosting for, like, you know, it's, I've seen both AWS and Azure in use by institutions that are like hosting their own applications, but not locally hosting in the cloud. So, and I suspect that maybe this, after this incident at Centralia, that may become more, you know, at Centralia, you guys may think, you know, they may think more about doing that, you know, so that it might be harder for ransomware to jump from locally infected PCs to cloud-based accounts, which are generally going to have pretty heavy security. So, and that would be a place where, I mean, you can kind of do, you know, self-hosting, but not on campus in a cloud environment. And that kind of thing is going on. And I don't know, I'm not aware that I doubt SBCTC offers. I don't know if, like, in this incident, if SBCTC is offering temporary hosting for anything from Centralia. I don't know if SBCTC does that. They're using AWS to host CTC Link, but that's a little different. Anything else going on that folks want to talk about? Yeah, if not, we can wrap up here. And just continue, you know, discussions as usual on our listservs and also for the upcoming, you know, for Thursday's call as well. So, all right, thanks very much, everyone. I hope you enjoy the rest of the short week if I don't talk to you before next week.